This NFL Week 9 injury news and updates and player prop targets edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MACHINE to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
And taking a shot to Brown downfield. He makes the catch, and he gets in for the touchdown. The catch is made by Calvin Ridley.
Wilson, what as he throws deep downfield. It's going to be caught by Metcalf.
Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. On the cusp of NFL Week 9 as we approach the halfway point of the NFL season. Here to get into all the NFL Week 9 injury news and updates. I may be a little down on this episode, but we'll get to that, of course, later in this episode. But joining me here to help me break everything down on the injury front for NFL Week 9, I've got my guy here with me. It's a DJ Doc himself, Sebastian Fearon. Sebastian, how's it going, my friend? How you doing this Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, good, man. Good. New challenge unlocked, having to fight the sun now. Usually we do this when it's a little darker out. So, if you see me kind of blinking or wincing over there, just fighting the sunlight. So, we all got our own battles here.
Yeah, a little bit earlier than usual, but always early the better. Try to get this out to our listeners as soon as possible so they can consume all the information that we do give out and everything that we do talk about here on this episode of the Propcast, just talking about all the injuries and such across the NFL. Let's get into it here, Sebastian. Let's not waste any time. We'll start here with the Thursday night football game, and what a way to start here. The Houston Texans, they are going to be traveling to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Jets. Jets currently laying 1.5 points in this game with a total of 42, Sebastian, and I'll let you take this one away, man.
Yeah, this is going to be the primary game we talk about. This is definitely what we have the most info on, and it's really got the most injuries, at least to this point. Before we start, though, I do want to say a little kudos to us. I mean, looking at the sheet from last week, I know we talked about Matthew Stafford passing. That ladder came in very nicely. We hit on Jameis and Cedric Tillman, Cade Otton, George Kittle, just some guys we talked about. So, hopefully the listeners were able to take advantage of that, because I know that helped make it a pretty green week 8. So looking at week 9, let's talk about it. So kind of the reason why that line moved, Texans were kind of the favorite up until today, because we got confirmation that Stephon Diggs is unfortunately out for the year with an ACL. Was talking about this yesterday, but typically when you see multiple specialists, you get second opinions. That's not really a good thing, right? It's not something you're going to expect to be minor. It's like, can I play the season at all is type of the conversation. Like, can I fight through this somewhat significant injury? So I'm not shocked there. Again, due to swelling, inflammation, sometimes the images aren't the most clear. They got to run retests and things like that. But unfortunately, a little bit as expected, non-contact knee injury. He's out for the season there. And really, I mean, it's kind of midpoint in the year where it's going to be where is he going to be ready for the start of next season, kind of be getting to ramp up there. So it's at that point. But obviously for the rest of this season, he's out, which leads us to Nico Collins, still in the IR. He is expected to be back next week against Detroit. Was reading something today, no setbacks or anything. So he should be good to go. Obviously we'll have to see more next week, but that does not help them for this game on Thursday night. We're still waiting on their injury report. Because they've practiced in a little bit later today. I think it was 4:10 Eastern time is when they were starting or something like that. It might even be Central time. Actually, it probably is. So probably practice just kicked off. But Damian Pierce did not practice yesterday. Neither did Jimmy Ward nor linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair. Ward and Al-Shaair did not play last week, so that's not a great sign. Now, they are expected to get back linebacker Henry To'oTo'o. He full practice on Monday with his concussion, so you got to imagine as long as no setbacks there, he's going to clear. So a little bit beat up, with obviously the wide receiver position is the biggest kind of who's going to step up there, which I will definitely pose to you. Let's just do it now. But who do you think kind of steps into that role? Obviously, there's a clear hole with Collins and Diggs out.
Yeah, I think it's two guys that stick out here. Number one going to be John Mechie. I know he was dealing with a whole medical thing himself, I think it was last season, the season prior, but he's made a full recovery. Did get into the game last week, of course, after Stephon Diggs left with the now confirmed torn ACL. So I think that's one guy that, before training camp started and when they were making final roster cuts, I thought this was going to be one of the guys that was going to get let go or released. But he did come into last week into that game. He had 3 receptions on 4 targets, 29 yards. So I do expect that to increase for him, obviously, this week. And I think the other guy would probably more than likely be Xavier Hutchinson for the Texans there as well. So those are the 2 guys that you probably want to look out for in the player prop market, to take on the responsibility of catching footballs from Mr. CJ Stroud. But I do think that we may have a more of a heavy run approach this week. So if you do like Joe Mixon, I think I would look at his rush attempts to go over in this game here, and maybe even if it's his receiving yards, or if you want to go rushing and receiving to go over for Joe Mixon. But at least right now, if there are other trades that we do make to add some more depth to that wide receiving group, probably would have to be after this Thursday night game. But I think those are the 2 guys I would look at here, Sebastian.
Yeah, and I wonder if a guy like Dalton Schultz is able to step up at all, with a couple bit with that chemistry. But yeah, currently at least over at DK, they're not hanging Hutchinson or Mechie just yet. I'm sure they're trying to scramble and figure out what lines to set. The big guys are there, but yeah, those kind of guys we're looking to step up. No one over there quite yet, at least in the prop realm. And they got a good opportunity because the Jets are beat up now. They're still waiting on their practice report. They just kind of started practice not too long ago as well. But with them, they got like half their team is questionable at this point. They're all like a bunch of limited practices. What I can say is that linebacker CJ Mosley has been dealing with some injuries, started with a turf toe, now a neck injury. He's going to see a specialist, a spine specialist, which when you talk about the neck and any type of neurological things, we just said it's not a good sign, right? Yeah. So I would be extremely shocked if he's out there, but I think we're talking about potentially a season-threatening thing here with CJ Mosley with his neck. So that's concerning. Also, their safety position has been hit really hard. Chuck Clark, their starters, out on IR. 2 backups, Tony Adams and Ashton Davis, did not play last week and have not practiced as of yesterday. So we'll have to see. I mean, they could potentially be down 3 safeties in the back end, and that's clearly, went to show past couple weeks. Pittsburgh was able to take advantage there on some deep shots, and even the lowly Patriots were able to kind of muck things up with them. So opportunity for whatever wide receivers come in, definitely down the field against some of those safeties there. And then really Aaron Rodgers, he's going to play. He's limited, but as everybody can see with who has eyes, he's not going to be any more mobile. I mean, still dealing with those hamstring and knee injuries. So don't expect Rodgers to be running around too much there.
All right, before we get over to the next game here, let me just take an opportunity to thank everybody here that listened to the Propcast. Again, we wouldn't be here without your loyalty and, honest the fans that we do have, all the screenshots and tweets and DMs that we do get about the Propcast here. But if you guys do us a favor, head over to Spotify, give us a 5-star rating on the Propcast here. Only you can prevent corporate gambling from taking over. All right, Sebastian, let's keep it rolling here, my man. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go over to the Las Vegas Raiders. They are going to be visiting Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Bengals currently laying 7.5 points in this game with a total of 46.5. What are we looking at for injuries between the Raiders and the Bengals?
Yeah, for this one, it's not a ton, really mostly coming on the Cincinnati Bengals side. It's T. Higgins, right? T. Higgins is the big one who now he injured himself in a Friday practice. And that is concerning because really even up until Sunday, he's only going to have a little bit over a week. Typically, a guy gets injured in the game and then they if they miss a game, now we're talking about 2 weeks, now we're only talking about really a week and a couple days for him to potentially miss another game. Quad strain, not quite as deadly as a hamstring or a groin strain, but still has that soft tissue effect where you have to be careful if you don't want to push it too fast. Now, there was reports that he was feeling fairly good last week and had a chance to play. So the fact he had a chance to play only a couple of days later is a good sign, but definitely one where, I would say it's about 60-40. I think I would say I would favor him right now to be able to play, but practice reports obviously are going to be a big deal here. Because on one hand, you have a guy who's barely going to have over a week of recovery, which is not a lot of time to miss 2 games, or on the other hand, you have a guy who was apparently fairly questionable coming into the week last week, just a couple days. So call day to day, but as we've come to find out, that doesn't really mean anything from these coaches. And then offensive tackle Orlando Brown dealing with a knee injury. Need a little more info here, but obviously this offensive line is already a weak point for this team. They really can't afford much more injuries there. So if they lose Brown, one of their bookends, that's going to be trouble. So really, we got to watch the Bengals injury report this week. The Raiders, I mean, look, they're a bad team. They don't got any, and it's hard because they don't have many players of noteworthy left on that team. But all the guys worth talking about should be good to go.
Yeah, maybe if T. Higgins is out this week again for Cincinnati, maybe look at a guy like Mike Gesicki for the Cincinnati Bengals. Last week, he was second in targets, only behind Jamar Chase, but did lead the team in receiving yards. 7 receptions, 73 yards for Mike Gesicki. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the Washington Commanders. They are going to be at MetLife to take on the New York Giants. Giants currently catching 3.5 points in this game with a total of 43.5 here. Sebastian, what are we thinking about the Commanders and your Giants?
Yeah, every week the hope diminishes and the misery increases. So a couple weeks ago it was Andrew Thomas, and now it's Tyrone Tracy. Thankfully, it won't be season threatening, but he picked up a concussion last night after a hell of a game. One of the few bright spots between him and Neighbors on the offense. His head slammed off the turf, and it was pretty obvious. Got ruled out officially in concussion protocol. Look, it's been hard. It's been damn near impossible, other than Marvin Harrison Jr., to clear it in 1 week anyway. But only having 6 days coming off Monday Night Football, I mean,
great point.
For me to even call him doubtful is just optimism of being a fan. So what this is Washington, Jonathan Allen out for the year. They're still not a great rush team. If we watch, the only thing really the Chicago Bears could get going, at least first 3 quarters, was the run game, DeAndre Swift. And they're not a particularly good running team anyway. So even the Giants against the Steelers were able to get some movement there. So I don't think Devin Singletary is as good as Tyrone Tracy, but I think he's going to get the volume, and I think he's going to have opportunity. So as soon as those Singletary props drop, that's what I'm looking to get on. I think we actually might be able to get advantage. We'll see how early they drop them. Sometimes with those injury questions, they just leave them off the board until it's kind of final. But if they do drop some Singletary stuff, I expect him to be the RB1, and I expect him to have a heavy workload this week against Washington.
Yeah, first 3 weeks, he had that heavy workload. In particular, I think it was week 2, 3, and 4, at least for his rush attempts against the Commanders. In fact, back in week 2, 95 rushing yards on 16 attempts. And then he had the following week against the Browns, 16 attempts, 65 yards, but also had 43 receiving yards as well. So the Commanders' rush defense has not been very good, to say the least this season as well. So I think that might be an area that we do want to target Devin Singletary in this game, in the case that Tyrone Tracy is not able to go in this game against the Commanders being in the concussion protocol. But I think that's a great point that you brought up there, Sebastian, that it's coming off of Monday Night Football, and he only has 6 days to see if he's going to be ready to go in this game or not for the New York Giants. Anything else for this game?
No, that was it. We got a couple games where it's just really the 1 or 2 big ones.
Yeah, all right, let's get over to the Dallas Cowboys. They are going to be in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons currently laying 2.5 points in this game with a total of 52 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for Cowboys and the Falcons?
Yeah, the biggest one, I mean, look, they've got the Falcons side, linebacker Troy Anderson, safety Justin Simmons, some guys that were banged up, didn't play. Ones to watch out for, got a chance to return. But the biggest one is Michael Parsons for Dallas Cowboys. Coming off that ankle sprain, he's now at about that 5-6 week mark, where I almost expected him to play last week against the 49ers, but I think he definitely gives it a go this week against Atlanta. I think that's a big boost for this Dallas defense. Look, Dallas is reeling. I'm not a believer in the Atlanta Falcons, despite their 5-3 record. I think this is actually a good opportunity where Dallas gets one. They also could potentially get back cornerback Deron Bland and cornerback Kalen Carson, who filled in for him. So really, this is an opportunity where this Dallas defense can come back and look a bit more formidable and give Kirk Cousins and Atlanta offense team some fit. So I think it's actually a decent opportunity to be on the Cowboys in general. As much as it pains me to say, I just think they're going to be catching. The defense is going to be in a better spot, and Kirk Cousins might be under pressure, and that's not exactly where we want to see Kirk Cousins.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the Chargers and the Browns in this game. Currently, the Chargers are laying 2 points on the road here against the Cleveland Browns, total sitting at 42.5. Anything significant here for Chargers and Browns, Sebastian?
So we'll start with the Cleveland side, the now Jameis Winston led Cleveland side, which,
Yes.
man, that was fun. So hopefully you were on his passing and Tillman, like we were saying, but, on the defensive side, cornerback Denzel Ward, likely ruled out with a concussion. I don't know if they confirmed he was in the protocol or not, but he was ruled out of the game with a head injury, so that typically means concussion. So that's kind of a little similar battle here. Probably call him squarely doubtful. We'll see if he can clear in just a week's time. A couple more defensive players have done it than offensive, but again, overall, not a great trend this year. And then linebacker Joke. I'm just gonna go Joke because I always forget what it is. Jeremiah. That stud linebacker there. He was started off the field with a scary neck injury. He was able to move all of his extremities, which is good. He is out of the hospital officially and doing better, but I don't even know if he's going to be ready to suit up this week. I mean, I think it has happened before, but to come off the stretcher hospital and then go right back into the game next week, not typical. So we'll see, but I would call him doubtful as well. Obviously, two big players on the defensive side. And then for the Los Angeles Chargers, cornerback Christian Fulton, hamstring injury. Those are brutal during the season. Hard to rehab, hard injury to bounce back from right away. I would expect him to be out at least 2 weeks there. So some key defensive guys on both sides. Looks like the offenses came away fairly clean at this point.
Yeah, maybe you look at the passing yards over again for Jameis Winston coming off that game against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, he did a great job of spreading the ball around, honestly, to all of his targets that he does have on the offensive side there. But again, this offense just looked completely different with Jameis Winston under center. And you only expect also Nick Chubb to get better and better as each game passes along here, just kind of getting some, playing time and getting the rust off of his legs there after missing 12 plus months there for the Cleveland Browns here. So this might honestly be a buy on team right now for the Cleveland Browns. Last week, Jameis Winston 334 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions in a victory against the Ravens 29-24 in favor of the Cleveland Browns. All right, before we continue the conversation here for NFL Week 9 injuries, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. Boostober is upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. So sign up with promo code MACHINE to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code MACHINE. All right, Sebastian, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule here for Week 9. We'll go over to the New England Patriots. They are visiting Tennessee to take on the Titans. Titans currently laying 3.5 points in this game with a total of 38. What are we looking at for Patriots and the Titans?
Yeah, really the big one here is Drake May. Concussion, knocked out of the game pretty early, but it didn't matter. Jacoby Brissett came in and still led them to victory over the New York Jets there. Pretty insane how the Jets are just losing games no matter who they have on the field. It's pretty amazing. But knocked out, I think, rinse repeat, doubtful at this point that he's going to be able to play. Not impossible, but it's likely we see another Brissett game. Especially the quarterback position, those high-profile positions. There's usually a little bit closer to the vest. Is that politics a little bit, or is that truly the injury? Tough to say, but definitely as far as anecdotally and what we've seen in the past, not a lot of quarterbacks clear this in just 1 week.
All right, let's keep it going here. Let's get over to a NFC South battle here. The New Orleans Saints, they are in Carolina to take on the Panthers. Saints currently laying 7 points in this game on the road. Total is sitting at 43.5, and maybe some reinforcements coming back for the New Orleans Saints here, Sebastian.
Yeah, it looks like Derek Carr is finally back because, Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener have been tough to watch. Haener's done a little bit better, but definitely Rattler was not fun. So he's expected to return to practice and likely play this week, which is great news for guys like Chris Olave, who's back in the lineup and can finally get something going. He was out with the concussion the week before. He came back last week and he had to clear a concussion protocol again early in the game. So thankfully he's good to go there. But Marshawn Lattimore picked up a hamstring injury, which can be pretty significant because they're already down Paulson Adebo for likely the season with a significant injury. So Lattimore dealing with a hamstring, expect him to be out for a couple weeks. So that secondary that usually, with Lattimore, Adebo, and Alontae Taylor is one of the best in the league. is going to be pretty shaky. They're going to have to rely on guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry and some of the younger guys to step up. So, if Andy Dalton's back in there, it might be something they can exploit. If it's Bryce Young, maybe that's just a stay away anyway.
All right, let's keep it going here. Let's go over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles at home laying 7.5 against the Jags here. Total is sitting at 45.5. What are we looking at for Jags and Eagles?
Yeah, so for the Jaguars, definitely losing on the injury front right now. You got Christian Kirk out for the season. This is something you got to worry about when you have someone land hard on their shoulder like that. The immediate concern is a clavicle fracture, basically that, that shoulder kind of jams up so much that it actually breaks, it gets out of where it's supposed to be. It breaks it out of alignment there. So he is out for the season there, Christian Kirk, unfortunate. And then you have Brian Thomas, the very impressive rookie, dealing with, they call it a chest. Whenever they call it chest, it's basically a ribs injury mostly. There's not a lot of like true chest injuries unless they call it a pec. So he's dealing with a rib injury, kind of landing on the ball there. A bit of muddy waters here. A report came out he could miss 2 to 4 weeks, and then Peterson and himself said MRI came back clean and he's day-to-day. So really one that's going to be ruled by the practice reports here. Obviously that Philadelphia defense, their secondary shown that they can be a bit leaky. But if you're down Kirk and Thomas, you're going to have to try to find somebody else, whether it's a Gabe Davis type game that they try to rely on, or, somebody like a Parker Washington or something like that. Jacksonville definitely to replace Kirk, but if not more, they're going to have to find some answers. And then on that Philadelphia side, Darius Slay picked up a groin injury. He's expected to probably miss some time. I would say about 2 to 3 weeks there. Groin injuries are tough to come back and play the next week. So they're going to rely on some of those younger guys in the back end there, missing their cornerback 1 in Slay.
Yeah, maybe Evan Ingram week for the Jaguars. I know last week, I believe he had a catching touchdown on National Tight Ends Day, but looking at his numbers last week, 5 targets, 4 receptions. He's had back-to-back weeks of 35 receiving yard. Did have a big game against the Chicago Bears, 10 receptions, 10 targets, 102 yards there as well. So they're going to need every bit of them this week against the Philadelphia Eagles in this non-conference matchup. Let's get over to the next game on the board. We'll go to the Chicago Bears. They are in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals currently laying 1 point in this game with a total of 44.5 here. Sebastian, what are we looking at for Bears and Cardinals?
Yeah, Bears coming off a heartbreak and Cardinals coming off a last second victory. So kind of opposite ends of the film there. But Cardinal side, fairly healthy. They got some good news. Defensive lineman Darius Robinson, their first-round pick, is finally activated off IR. This is something they've been trying to do for the past couple weeks, really, with a calf injury. So it was kind of a nagging calf injury that just kind of kept getting delayed. So hopefully some good news. We'll see. He'll be back at practice. Just because he's activated doesn't mean he's going to immediately be ready to go. But that is kind of a plus for them. And then on the Chicago side, dealing with left tackle Braxton Jones, although not a major injury, he's called week to week, which typically tells me he's not going to play that first week back and potentially out another week. This is a noticeable hit. I mean, when he went out, they had to bring a rookie in, and Caleb Williams went from having maybe 2 seconds to 1 second. So that offensive line's already not the best. So to lose their left tackle, that's going to be tough for this game. And you got Montez Sweat, excuse me. This is just one to see. He's played most of the game. He wasn't in on it last game because he kind of hurt his shin. More to follow, it looks like, on this. Not a lot of information other than on arguably the most important play of the game. Their best pass rusher wasn't out there to get in the face of Jaden Daniels. So we shall see how that looks next week.
All right. Maybe the matchup of the week, NFC North battle. Detroit Lions, they're in Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. Packers currently catching 3.5 points in this game with a total of 48.5, and more so having to do with their quarterback availability in this game here, Sebastian. But what are we looking at for Lions and Packers?
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. We'll talk about really one under injury. Malcolm Rodriguez, for the linebacker for the Detroit Lions. He got banged up last week during their rout against the Tennessee Titans. He avoided a high ankle sprain, which is great news. So it sounds like it's that low ankle sprain, that less serious, the one we more think about when we roll our ankle, kind of, you roll your ankle inwards and the outside of your foot starts to hurt. Those ligaments, they're a little bit weaker, so they injure more, but they don't typically come with a very lengthy recovery timeline. If it's a kind of minor, he's got a chance to still play this week. If it's anything above that, he's definitely going to be out this week. But the good news is it's not high ankle, so it should not be very season-lingering, season-threatening, anything like that. So good news for him. It's just, will he be available this week? He's got a shot. And then Jordan Love, they called him day-to-day as well. Now, I got some more concerns here than with Rodriguez's injury. Groin injuries are pesky, especially if you're going to try to play 1 week off after. And we've seen Jordan Love. He's a guy who likes to push to play. And the Packers, they allow guys to do that, for better or for worse. They're one of those teams that definitely is a bit more risky in that regard. So we'll see. The big thing I noticed is, look, he got injured. He tried to play through it, and then he got injured again. Yeah. So, the thing has already kind of been injured twice. And so I see this as a concern. I know that the MRI showed a minor grade groin strain and, nothing more, which is great, but still can take about 2 to 3 weeks to fully heal. And something that can absolutely be tricky to manage and can re-injure. So I see this as, if I'm a Lions backer, I almost want Love to play because he's essentially going to be on one leg. And we know he likes to kind of throw the ball up there anyway. So if he takes away some of his mobility, I think if the Packers know the whole week that Malik Willis is going to be their QB1, I think they stand a better chance being able to stand behind that run game. But I think there's a situation where Love is going to push to play, and then we'll see if they try to roll him out there. But I think even the fact that there's still some questions there, at least to the public, maybe Matt LaFleur already knows. But I think that's going to muddy the waters there in the Packers. And I'd say advantage Detroit there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that if it is Jordan Love out there, Malik Willis out there, I definitely look at his rushing yards to go over in this game. That's been a guy that when he's made his starts or appearances this season for the Green Bay Packers, he's really been utilizing his legs. Sam Darnold against the Lions, 4 rushes, 39 yards. Last week, Mason Rudolph ran for 29. Geno Smith, 38. Kyler Murray, 45. And Baker Mayfield had 34. So it'll be interesting to see what number that does come out for Malik Willis in this game, if he does get the start here for Jordan Love in this game. All right, before we do continue the conversation here for the last couple games on the NFL Week 9 schedule, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Rhythm. SGPN's prop partner Rhythm is a #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or press Build a Model for Me, and Rhythms gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Plus, Rhythm's NBA models are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business, BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. Easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. U.S. players are always welcome. BetUS is live with Trick or Treat on Horror Street. From now until Halloween, BetUS will be offering daily promotions plus a raffled entry to win a sports or casino prize pack that they will give away on October 31st. You can enter multiple times, and for every $200 that you do deposit, you get 1 entry. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgambling.com/BetUS. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN so they know that we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports bug. All right, Sebastian, a couple games left here for the Week 9 schedule. We'll go over to the LA Rams. They are visiting Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Rams currently laying 2 points in this game with a total of 48.5. What do we think about the Rams and the Seahawks?
Yeah, I really like the Rams this week. I think the Seahawks, I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but they're clearly getting exposed as not actually being a good team. Now, for their benefit, though, it looks like DK Metcalf should be able to go next week. He had a chance to go this week. Looks like it's a minor MCL sprain, something that usually about 1 to 2 weeks is good to go. So let's confirm it through practice reports, but I'd say there's a good chance that DK Metcalf is on the field. And then obviously, look, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, as they continue to get back into the offense, they've had basically a mini bye week. So coming off that Thursday night game, I think this is going to be a team that's looking to ride some momentum. And I know it's on the road, but man, I really like the Rams in this matchup. I think the Seahawks, I know they've been beat up on the defensive end, but they've just kind of, they've been getting blown out. I know they just beat Atlanta, and then there was a similar spot, but 31-10 against the Bills is just not a good showing at home.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a Kyron Williams week here because the rush defense has not been very good for the Seahawks, to say the least. They're giving up 130 rushing yards on the ground, close to 25 attempts per game, 5.29 yards per carry that they are allowing on the ground there. So maybe look out for Kyron Williams this week to have a big game on the ground here for the Los Angeles Rams. All right, let's get over to Monday Night Football. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are taking on the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs currently laying 8.5 points in this game with a total of 46. Sebastian, what we got for the rematch from a couple seasons ago between the Bucs and the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a situation where you're still missing your big play guys on the outside there for Tampa Bay. Obviously, Godwin for the year, Evans at least for the next 3 weeks. They've also Bucky Irving, even though he's going to be playing through a turf toe. So, as far as re-aggravating that is something, it's going to be painful to play through. So he's already told reporters he's going to play, but it's going to be one of those things he's going to have to mitigate because he's not going to take any time off to let it fully heal. So that's always going to be a risk when you're putting them in your lineups, but whether you want to take it or not against this Kansas City defense. They've also cornerback Tyke Smith. Was dealing with a concussion. Would expect him to be back next week as long as things go well. And then Levante Davis is one to watch for. Injured his ankle during the game, so we'll see if he's able to play next week. And then Sterling Shepard dealing with a bit of a hamstring injury. They don't have a lot of wide receivers left on that team, so I think Kansas City's pass defense is already one of the best. They've got no Jalen Watson still, but they still looked pretty damn good last week. Patrick Mahomes looked like he rolled his ankle, minor low ankle sprain. Nothing really too concerning. He played basically most of the game with it. So I don't think this is anything I'm worried about him missing time. Maybe he misses a practice or two, but I think he's fully going to be out there, and I think the line suggests that. Only other thing, Josh Uche just traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, so that gives them another pass rusher to kind of, they've already got good cover guys back there, so the opportunity for him to get some sacks, definitely Baker has ran himself into a few. So this is interesting. I mean, Tampa is kind of a team that is flailing right now, and it looks like as Baker tries to press, the turnovers are coming. So we'll see how it plays out on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs' rush defense has been one of the best as well, right up there with the Baltimore Ravens. They're only allowing 50 yards on the ground, 17 carries per game on average by the opposition. That's a hair under 3 yards per carry, 2.97. And even last week, I know they were trailing in that game last week against the Falcons, but Baker still ended up throwing it 50 times for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think that might be something similar this week on Monday Night Football for Baker Mayfield to come out and throw again. So if you want to look at his pass attempts to go over, maybe another game where he does throw interceptions for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. But again, I think the rushing will be pretty much non-existent. But last week we talked about it, Sebastian. It was Cade Otton that really led the way for the offense. 9 receptions, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns on 10 targets. And then Raheem Jarrett, 3 receptions, 58 yards. And you had the running backs get involved there. They combined for 12 receptions for 78 yards between Bucky Irving and Rashad White, I should say, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So a couple of that I would probably look out here for Monday Night Football. All right, so that was the last game for us to go through as far as the injury front for NFL Week 9. 2 teams that are on bye this week is the Niners, and I believe it's the Steelers this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
We'll be on bye weeks here. So, that's pretty much it. Sebastian, anything else we need to add before we get out of here?
No, that should be all. I mean, look for a couple guys coming off the bye week. We talked about Nico Collins, potentially Christian McCaffrey coming off for Week 10. So we'll be talking about that next week. Hey, we hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, nice and tidy here to get the job done with all the injuries that are happening across the league here. So hopefully we did find some more guys that we want to target in the player prop market. But yeah, next week we'll be back, of course. Like Sebastian alluded to, maybe CMC back. Nico Collins is trending towards playing in Week 10 for the Texans as well. So we'll touch on all that and maybe the newest injuries that do transpire over week 9. And of course, guys that may be coming back in week 10 as well. Make sure you guys follow Sebastian over on the Twitter machine at the DGen Doc. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Make sure you guys also check out Sebastian's show, the DGen Docs, over on YouTube. And make sure you also subscribe to the audio format, whether it's on Apple, whether it's on Spotify, wherever you do get your podcast. So definitely appreciate if you guys can give them a subscription on their YouTube channel, but also give them some love on their audio there as well. They do a fantastic job of breaking everything down. Injury front, fantasy stuff, and of course, player props as well. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Till then, good luck with your bets. Enjoy the games for week 9, and always remember to let it ride.